Hi, my name is Hunter, and this is a very brief introduction to motion tracking using Blender. Blender is very popular among student and indie filmmakers. It's free, it's open source. You can go ahead and download it from blender.org, and the file I'm going to be using today will be linked in the description below. All right, let's get started. So first thing we're going to do is click anywhere outside of this window here to get rid of our splash screen. We're going to go ahead and click the plus button and go down to VFX and motion tracking. So we're going to go up to the output settings. We can change our resolution here. The video we're using today is 4K, but we're going to leave it in 1080p because it'll just be faster to render for this tutorial. Our video is 24 frames, so we're going to go ahead and leave it there. If it's different, you can go ahead and choose a different option. Next up, let's go ahead and open our video. I left my file on the desktop and open clip. And while we're on frame 1, you might notice by default we end at frame 250. Our video clip is a little bit longer than that. So to fix that, let's go ahead and hit set scene frames. And now our timeline is much longer. We can go ahead and click with our middle mouse button and scroll out. So on frame 1, we're going to go ahead and hit detect features. And let's just go ahead and hit the button to track our markers forward. This should only take a few seconds. It's not going to be very long. And then once that's done, you might notice a lot of them have gone from yellow to red. Red just means that Blender lost the tracking marker throughout the video. So to fix this, let's go ahead and add more markers. So go ahead and hit detect features again. And now we're on the last frame, so we're going to use the track markers backwards button to go back through our footage. Okay, so now that that's done, we're going to do one more pass because I find that if I don't, we generally might not have enough markers towards the middle of our footage because a lot of them get lost from the beginning and from the very end. So let's go ahead and pick a frame towards the middle of our footage. I'm going to go with 250. And then from here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to detect features and track backwards. Okay, so we're done tracking backwards. Let's go back to frame 250 and track forwards. Now, before we solve, we do need to clean up our timeline a little bit. If we drag around here, you'll see there's a lot of straight lines. Let's go ahead and under solve, go down to clean up and hit filter tracks. And by default, it's going to choose a threshold of 5 pixels, which should be fine for us. Let's go ahead and hit X on our keyboard and hit delete track. And you'll see our timeline looks much, much cleaner. So from here, let's go ahead and solve. So let's go up to refine and choose focal length and go ahead and hit solve camera motion. Okay, so you'll notice on the top right of our viewport here, you'll see a solve error. I've got 0.81. You're probably gonna have something a little bit different, but ideally you just want it to be around 1 pixel or less. That generally means you have a very accurate solve. So over on the left side, let's go down to set as background. Go ahead and click that. And you'll notice in our 3D view, we can see our clip in the background, and then choose Setup Tracking Scene. Now we want to think about in our video clip, where do we want our objects to be placed? So I'm thinking in this big center area here, that'd be a good spot to place an object, and we're going to define a ground. So all we need to do is select 3 points. I'm going to zoom in with my mouse, and let's go ahead and I'm going to pick a point on the car, a point on this other car, and then I'm going to choose a point across the road. And with these 3 points, we can go ahead and click floor. And that has aligned this plane in our 3D view to this floor. When we add a new object into our scene, where is it going to be placed? And I want it to be placed right in the middle here, so I'm going to choose a central point here and choose Set Origin. We can go ahead and move over to our layout workspace. Let's go ahead and click 0 on your number pad to switch to the camera view. We're going to click both of these objects. The cube is already selected. You can go ahead and hold Shift and click on the plane. And I'm going to go ahead and press X and delete these default objects. Now if I scroll out of my timeline and we can kind of click and drag around here, you'll see that our axes are aligned with the ground surface that we've defined. I'm going to go ahead and add in our first object. Let's go ahead and press Shift A, go over to Mesh, and let's choose Monkey. And from here, let's go ahead and press 3. This is going to switch to our side view. I'm going to zoom in with my mouse. And let's go ahead and rotate this. We want it to basically be sitting on our ground. And our ground right now is aligned with this green axis. So let's go ahead and press R, and I'm going to type in 36, press enter, and then I'm going to press G and Z. G basically grabs Z, aligns us to our Z axis. And with my mouse, I'm going to drag this up until it looks like it's roughly sitting on that axis. It's not going to be perfect yet. We'll fix that in a second. So let's go ahead and under our Object Properties tab, add a modifier, and we're going to add a subdivision surface modifier. Let's set both these values to 3. That would look pretty good. We can go ahead and right click and choose Shade Smooth. Now from here we can press G and then Z again and align this so that it looks like it's sitting right above that line. Now let's go ahead and press 0 to go back to our camera view. And obviously our monkey is very big. So we want to scale it down. So let's press S and then we can move our mouse to scale. Now the problem is right now when we scale down, it kind of looks like our monkey is floating in space, which is not what we want. And up at the top here, you might notice this little chain icon. Let's go ahead and click that and choose 3D cursor. The 3D cursor is basically this circle right here. And what this means is that when we go ahead and scale now, it's going to scale around the cursor, which basically just keeps the monkey sitting on our surface. So I'm going to scale it down. If you want to, you can just type in 0.3 and hit enter. I'm going to move this so that it's a little more centered where I want it to be. So I'm gonna press G and then X, and I'm just gonna move it slightly to the right. I'm gonna press G and then Y and move it slightly forward. And I kind of want to rotate it so that the monkey is facing the camera. So I'm gonna press R and then Z and type in about 45 degrees. Now I'm going to go back and press G and Y and move it back where I want it to be. And that is literally it. We have tracked our object onto our scene. If we scrub through the timeline, you'll get a nice preview. Of course, you're missing your shading, your textures, your lighting, and all that will be covered in future videos. But right now, I just want to show you how easy and fast it is to just track an object onto your scene. Now, if you want to render this out as a video file, we can go over to our output tab. We have a little folder icon. Go ahead and choose where you want your video to be exported to. I'm going to choose my desktop. I'm going to name it Motion Tracking Export. Go ahead and hit accept and change from a PNG to AVI JPEG. So under our render properties, let's go under film and go ahead and check transparent. And the last thing to do is we need to change our render engine from Eevee over to Cycles. Now, once we've done that, just go ahead and change your device from CPU to GPU. And then under our render settings, we're just gonna uncheck noise threshold and change the samples down to something like 8. Basically, the more samples you have, the higher quality your render is gonna look. But for this tutorial, we're gonna keep it really small so that our render is very fast. So I'm gonna choose 8 samples. And now we can go up to render and render animation. And this is the final result. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Of course, future tutorials will cover materials, lighting, things like that. And I think a lot of student filmmakers and indie filmmakers think that they need some elaborate setup in order to add VFX into their shots. And I hope this shows you that you do not. And this was done in less than 10 minutes. So it's super easy and almost everything was done automatically for us. Please leave any questions in the comments below. I've left this video link in the description. You can also go ahead and download Blender for free from blender.org. And thank you very much for watching. Bye.